My dad is the male deity of our village. He never had to work in the fields, just lay in bed, waiting on women. Whenever a girl in the village was about to come of age, she'd spend a night in his room. Then one day, my dad suddenly grabbed my hand, his face full of fear. "Run!" he cried. "The women in this village, they're not human!" My dad was the envy of all the men in the village. He never worked, just lay in bed all day. We weren't a rich village, but my dad feasted on delicacies every day. My mom worked 3 jobs just to buy him meat and fish, but only he was allowed to eat them. My mom never let me touch the food, not even a taste for herself. One time, my dad couldn't finish a dish, and while my mom wasn't looking, I tried to sneak a bite. But the moment she saw me, she snapped. She was like a different person, beat me so hard I almost lost a leg. I cried and begged for mercy. From that day on, I never dared touch his leftovers again. That day, my mom had made 3 dishes and a soup. She told me to bring it to my dad. The aroma made my mouth water, but I didn't dare sneak a bite. My dad didn't live with us. His room was set apart from the rest. As I approached with the food, the door creaked open from the inside. Emily stepped out, face flushed. She was in her 40s, but looked like a girl in her 20s. She glanced at me, her red, polished nails tapping my shoulder. "Bringing dinner to your dad again, huh?" Her hand was cold as ice. I shivered and nodded. Emily smirked and sashayed away. Inside, the room was filled with a strange smell. My dad lay on the bed, staring blankly upward. His skin, pale from lack of sun, looked almost translucent, and he seemed swollen, like he'd been soaking in water for too long. "Dad, time to eat." I set the food down before him, but the moment he heard the word eat, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. "I don't want it!" he screamed. I didn't get it. As far as I could tell, he ate better than anyone else in the village. My mom worked her fingers raw just to make sure he had the best meals. "Dad, Mom got up early this morning to buy fresh pork from town. It's really tasty." My dad sat up suddenly. "Did Emily leave?" I nodded. He let out a breath, but then terror filled his eyes again. "Son, do you understand? The women in this village, they're not human. Not even your mother." I froze. My dad served over 12 women every day. Was he losing his mind from exhaustion? I wanted to say something but hesitated. He saw right through me. He leaned in, jaw clenched. "If you don't believe me, next time a woman comes in here, hide outside and watch through the door." I shook my head hard. When I was a kid, I tried peeking through the door, crack out of curiosity, but my mom caught me before I saw anything. I was nearly beaten to death. Seeing my expression, my dad suddenly asked, "Aren't you turning 18 next week?" I grinned and nodded. Mom said the village is throwing a big celebration for my coming of age. I couldn't wait. Mom promised there'd be tons of good food. But my dad's face darkened. "Idiot! That's not a celebration, it's a test to see if you're fit to be a breeder. If you fail, they'll eat you alive." I was totally confused. My dad's face turned ghostly pale, his lips trembling. "I never had a chance to tell you until now. You're about to come of age. We have to run before the ceremony. This village eats men. The women, they're not human. We men, we're their livestock. I was lured here by your mom when I was 16. I'd had a fight with my family and didn't want to go home, so I stayed in the village. At first, the women were all really nice to me, but soon, I noticed something was off. Haven't you ever realized? Your mom never eats in front of you." I froze. Now that he mentioned it, every time she made a meal, she always said I should eat first, that she'd eat the leftovers. I thought it was just because she loved me. I never gave it a second thought. My dad's eyes gleamed oddly. "It's because they don't eat human food. They eat people. Do you know why no men are allowed inside the ancestral shrine? Because locked inside are men waiting to be slaughtered. They categorize us. Breeding quality men like me serve them daily. The low-quality ones, they're caged like animals and eaten. The average ones are kept for labor. My dad's words left me stunned. Your mom puts special drugs in the food she sends me. They keep me aroused, makes breeding easier. And that stuff, it's not even real food. But forget it. You wouldn't believe me even if I told you. He gritted his teeth, his eyes full of hate. But remember this, once you see their true forms, you'll see the food they've been feeding you for what it really is. Whatever happens, stay calm. Don't let them know. He opened his mouth to say more, but suddenly fell silent, terror overtaking his face. I followed his gaze. My mom was at the window, her face pressed against the glass, twisted by the pressure, but her eyes were staring straight at us. A chill ran through me. She pushed open the window and smiled faintly. You two are chatting for quite a while. What's your dad telling you? Just shooting the breeze. Maybe it was what my dad said, but my mom's gaze felt eerie, sinister even. I practically bolted from his room, back in my own. I broke into a cold sweat. I remembered when I was a kid. Carlos and I had once snuck into the ancestral shrine. Carlos climbed the wall first while I kept watch. I waited and waited, but he never came out. I got tired of waiting and just went home. The next day, we heard Carlos had drowned in the river. I felt so guilty back then. But now, thinking about what Dad said, a chill ran down my spine. What if Carlos didn't drown? What if he saw something in the shrine and was killed for it? Just then, I felt a creepy gaze on me, like someone was watching. I turned around. The door, which had been shut, was now cracked open just a finger's width. My mom was standing there. Who knows how long she'd been watching me. Her face expressionless, eyes peering through the crack. I nearly jumped out of bed. Trying to stay calm, I asked, "Mom, what are you doing?" She stepped in. She wore an apron now, stained deep red. It hadn't been stained earlier. My eyes drifted to her fingernails. Though a villager, she always kept her nails long. She once said women are born to love beauty. I used to think that was normal. She was once a young woman, too. But now, I was starting to panic. A terrifying thought crept into my mind. What if my mom's nails were always naturally that long? She sat beside my bed and reached out to stroke my hair. Her long nails grazed my cheek. I'd never felt so scared in my life. Did your dad say something he shouldn't have? Her eyes locked onto mine. No, I was sweating bullets. My voice cracked. She sighed. You've never been good at lying. Did he tell you the women here aren't human? I flinched. Her eyes reddened. Looks like your dad's illness is getting worse. Huh? I froze. He was normal when he first came here at 16, she said, wiping her tears. But one day, he just broke. Started talking nonsense all the time. I never let you eat that food because it's medicated for his illness. But I guess it's only gotten worse over the years. I asked, then why can't men enter the ancestral shrine? That's an old rule passed down from our ancestors, she said. It's always been that way. In our village, people have always strictly followed the rules laid down by the ancestors. Even the tradition of choosing one man to serve the women came from that. When she said it like that, it almost made sense. She gently stroked my face, tears still in her eyes. Don't you trust me, sweetheart? I looked at her, guilt gnawing at me. My mom raised me all on her own. My dad had been lying in that room since I was born. It was my mom who kept me alive. When I had a raging fever as a child, she stayed up all night caring for me. Mom, I do trust you, I muttered. She smiled at last. "I'll go make you something to eat." I nodded, and then I heard something move outside. I poked my head out and saw Aunt Anna walking hand in hand with her daughter, Jessica Miller. Jessica was stunningly beautiful, and at my age, when everything stirs the heart, she had already starred in more than a few of my dreams. Was she here to see me? My heart skipped a beat. But Aunt Anna was leading Jessica toward my dad's house. That's when I remembered Jessica had just turned 18 yesterday. Every girl who came of age had to spend a night in my dad's room. My mind flashed back to what my dad had said. My mom was still in the kitchen cooking. I gritted my teeth and quietly followed them. Aunt Anna and Jessica had already gone into my dad's room. I crept up and pressed my ear to the door. At first, it was quiet inside. Then, faint moaning and heavy breathing reached my ears. My face flushed. No wonder the men in the village said my dad lived a blessed life. Emboldened, I gently nudged the door open just a crack and peeked inside. Both Aunt Anna and Jessica were straddling my dad, eyes closed, faces flushed. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Maybe Mom was right. Maybe Dad really had lost his mind. I was about to leave if my mom caught me. I'd get another beating, but then I saw something so horrifying it froze me in place. A thick, fleshy, reddish tendril slithered out of Jessica's mouth and slid straight into my dad's. The look of pleasure on my dad's face vanished in an instant, replaced by ghostly pallor. His eyes bulged as if about to pop out. I covered my mouth to stop myself from screaming. Inside the tendril were clusters of tiny sacs like eggs that wriggled their way into my dad's throat. His body jerked violently, clearly in unbearable pain, while Jessica moaned softly. Then a tendril emerged from Aunt Anna's mouth too, sliding into my dad's mouth. My heart pounded as I watched in horror. Suddenly, Jessica froze. She returned to her normal self and turned to Aunt Anna, whispering something. I heard her say in a chilling voice, "Mom, I think someone's watching us." My heart nearly stopped. Aunt Anna and Jessica snapped their heads toward the door. Thankfully, I was fast. I had already ducked into the bushes behind the house. I watched as Jessica's head pushed through the door crack, literally squeezed through. Her face first contorted from the pressure, then popped back into place. Her eyes darted left and right at an inhuman speed. No way human eyes could move like that. "Maybe I imagined it," Jessica muttered, pulling her head back inside. My whole body was soaked in cold sweat. I scrambled out of the bushes and sprinted back home. Just then, Mom came out with the food. She looked at my sweaty face and furrowed her brows. "Why are you sweating so much? You look pale." She put down the bowls and walked over. My heart was pounding. Everything Dad said was true. Aunt Anna and Jessica were monsters. All the women in the village must be monsters, even my mom. I forced a smile and said it was just hot outside. But she touched my back. "Your back's cold. Doesn't feel like heat stroke to me." Her hand was icy. Her long fingernails lightly scratched my back. I shivered. She grinned a grin far too wide. Unnatural. "You didn't go sneaking over to your dad's, did you?" I nearly passed out from fear, but forced myself to stay calm. I shook my head. She just let out a soft "oh" and didn't press further. She wiped her hands on her apron. The dark red stain on it looked even deeper than before. "Come eat. I made you fresh old hen soup. You're sweating cold like this in the heat you need to nourish your body." She kept muttering, and seeing she dropped the topic, I let out a long sigh and sat at the table. She lifted the lid off the pot. A wave of fragrant steam rose up. My stomach churned in fear. No matter how good it smelled, I had no appetite. Mom sweetly ladled a bowl for me. I looked inside and nearly lost my composure. This wasn't chicken soup. It was insect soup. The steaming red broth was thick, with floating egg sacs tiny, squirming larvae. I almost vomited right there, but my mom's smile grew even wider. She stared at me, eyes gleaming. "Drink it while it's hot." I remembered what my dad said: once I saw the truth, I'd be able to break through their illusions. I had to stay calm. I couldn't let her know I knew. But no matter how I tried, I couldn't bring myself to drink the bloody, worm-filled soup, especially with live bugs squirming inside it. At some point, Mom had moved behind me. Her head hung down close to mine, breath brushing my ear. Her long nails rested on my shoulder. She giggled softly. "What's wrong? You used to love my chicken soup." Her fingernails tapped my shoulder, slowly and deliberately. "Or is it?" she said, her smile vanishing, her face going blank as she stared at me. There's something wrong with the soup. Every pore on my body turned cold. I was terrified, but I knew I had to drink this soup today. Gritting my teeth, I picked up the bowl and gulped down several mouthfuls. I felt the eggs sticking to my throat, wriggling as they slid down. The slimy sensation nearly made me puke, but I forced it down. "Is it good?" she asked sweetly, her expression softening again. I nodded, swallowing the nausea. She patted my shoulder and told me to finish it. Then she went back to the kitchen. While she was gone, I quickly dumped the rest of the soup. Just then, I heard a door open at Dad's place. Jessica and Aunt Anna walked out, faces glowing. They looked even more alluring than before they went in. Jessica saw me standing by the window and gave me a shy smile. "Hi, Luke." She looked just like a normal girl who'd just come of age. But I couldn't smile back. I couldn't forget the monster she had become. Aunt Anna giggled and winked at me. "Jessica, why don't you go play with Luke? I'll head home. You two grew up together. I still remember you saying you'd marry her one day." "Moom," Jessica whined playfully. Aunt Anna laughed out loud. "Luke, I won't be the third wheel. I'll leave you two alone. Normally, I'd be over the moon. But now, seeing Jessica's face filled me with dread. Something about the way she looked at me had changed. It used to be shy and sweet. But now I don't know if it was just my imagination. It felt like she was eyeing me like prey. Jessica, cheeks flushed, walked up to me. When my mom saw Jessica, she lit up. "Luke, why don't you take Jessica to your room to hang out?" Forcing a smile, I let her in. But the moment we stepped inside, I heard a click, the door locking behind us. Jessica leaned against it, grinning. "Now there's no one to steal you away from me, Luke," she said. My heart dropped. I instinctively turned toward the window, but then she giggled. "I'm just messing with you, Luke." She sat beside me, resting her head on my shoulder. Jessica used to smell so nice, I loved sitting close to her. But now, the scent clinging to her smelled like rot. She gave me a sidelong glance, eyes fixed on me. "Luke, when I went into your dad's room earlier, were you outside?" Her hand landed lightly on my thigh. Her nails were long, razor sharp. My pupils shrank. I swallowed hard. "I was gonna bring Dad something to eat," I said, trying to sound casual. "But when I saw you go in, I turned back. Don't you remember when I got caught peeking as a kid? Mom nearly killed me. I wouldn't dare." I kept my voice as normal as I could. Jessica nodded. "Yeah, that's true." Her face flushed as she kissed my cheek. "Your coming of age is almost here," she whispered. "Afterward, will you come propose to me, Luke? Normally, I'd be over the moon. But now all I could think about was being eaten at the coming-of-age ceremony." I mumbled a few distracted replies to Jessica, and she seemed a little disappointed before leaving shortly after. As soon as she left, my mom asked me to take some fruit to my dad. I glanced at the plate she'd prepared and almost threw up again. I finally understood why my dad always refused to eat what my mom made. The fruit was crawling with all kinds of wriggling bugs and gave off a disgusting, fishy stench. Thinking that my dad and I had been eating this stuff for years, I clenched my fists. I picked up the plate and pushed open the door to his room. My dad flinched the moment he heard the door, but when he saw it was me, the fear on his face faded. His face and body looked even more swollen than before. I couldn't stop thinking about those eggs Jessica had put inside him, and my heart ached. After making sure no one was around, I spoke up with a trembling voice. "Dad, I saw everything. I believe you now. What do we do?" My dad weakly sat up. "Luke, we have to run tonight." He gripped my hand tightly. His hand was slippery. I looked down and saw that his skin was rising and falling like it was breathing. Something seemed to be squirming underneath. I looked closer. Tiny egg sacs, just like the ones I saw before. "What are these things?" I asked, voice shaking. My dad shook his head. "I don't really know. Every summer, it's their breeding season. They lay eggs in the bodies of men they deem fit for reproduction. My whole body is full of these disgusting things." He spoke through gritted teeth. "Then how was I born?" I asked in confusion. My dad sighed. "Luke, you're not my biological son, and you're not hers either. She found you near the village. I've always treated you like my own. If we escape this time, we'll start a new life together in the city." Strangely, finding out she wasn't my real mother made me feel relieved. At least I wasn't born from a monster. "But how do we escape?" I asked urgently. A sharp glint flashed in my dad's eyes. "After all these years, I've discovered their weakness. Even if you cut them with a knife, they'll heal, but they're afraid of fire. Fire is their fatal weakness. If we burn them, we can escape." My dad's eyes lit up with excitement. My breath caught. "You mean set my mom on fire?" My mind raced with memories of everything she'd done for me over the years. When I was little, she used to fan me and sing lullabies to put me to sleep. When I saw the kids on TV with pretty school bags, she showed up the next day drenched in sweat with one for me. Even knowing she was a monster, I hesitated at the thought of killing her. My dad saw my hesitation and smacked me hard on the head. "Luke, she's only good to you because you might be a viable breeder. Not every man is. I'm one of the rare few. That's why they lure men from outside and keep them like livestock. If you don't kill her, we'll be the ones to die." I snapped to attention. He was right. The coming-of-age ceremony was when they graded us. If I wasn't breeder material, best case, I'd be worked to death. Worst case, I'd be eaten alive. I had to escape with my dad no matter what. We agreed to flee at 2 in the morning. He warned me. The women in the village were extremely united. If a fire broke out, they'd rush to save each other first during that chaos. We could escape unnoticed. After I left, 2 more women went into my dad's room. I clenched my fists. Tonight, we had to get out. But my mind was so full of escape plans, I wasn't my usual self. My mom noticed. "Luke, something's off with you today." She sat across from me and said it slowly. I stiffened and quickly shook my head. "No, nothing's wrong." She continued. "You're always the most energetic kid in the village during summer. Always running around, never minding the heat. But today you stayed inside all day. You look so listless. Luke, I'm your mom. No one knows you better than I do. You think I can't tell when something changes?" Her eyes looked sincerely concerned, but I knew it was fake. She was testing me. "Ever since you came back from your dad's room, something's been different." "Luke, I told you your dad has hysteria. Whatever he says, don't take it to heart. She looked troubled. I sneered silently. I'd seen what she really was. She hesitated, then said, "Luke, I think I should take you to the hospital tomorrow." I was stunned. "Why now?" She sighed, looking exhausted. "Luke, your dad's hysteria might be hereditary. I'm afraid you've inherited it." I blurted out, "That can't be. You've been married to him for years, and every time he gets sick, he says the women in the village are monsters. That we lay eggs inside him and feed him bugs disguised as food. I don't know if he told you, but he said the ancestral shrine is full of men kept there for food." Her eyes reddened. "Your dad isn't fit to work outside. I've tried every doctor I could find. Nothing helps. The doctors warned me his illness might pass on to his children. Luke, please trust me. If you start seeing the women turn into monsters, or the food is bugs, you have to tell me. If we catch it early, maybe we can cure it." She was crying as she grabbed my hand. I was totally thrown off. I kept telling myself this had to be a trick. She wanted me to slip up. I pretended I didn't know anything and asked, "Mom, what's really in the shrine?" She hesitated. "If you really want to see, I can sneak you in. It's just one of those ancient rules passed down for generations. No one knows why our ancestors made it." "Luke, it's just a regular shrine." I immediately said I wanted to go. To my surprise, she agreed. I followed her toward the shrine. The closer we got, the faster my heart pounded. What if this was a trap? But I hadn't had my ceremony yet. She wouldn't kill me now, right? At last, we reached the entrance. She glanced around, then whispered, "No one's here. I'll keep watch. Go on in." I summoned all my courage and stepped inside, but what I saw left me dumbfounded. It really was just an ordinary shrine. Inside were ancestor tablets and plenty of burned incense. Other than that, there was nothing strange, not even the faintest trace of blood. I searched every corner, top to bottom, still nothing. As I was about to leave, I heard my mom talking to Aunt Anna outside. "Do you think Luke's coming down with it too? His dad started showing symptoms after his coming of age." She sighed. "I'm not sure. Back then, he nearly killed me. I'm just scared Luke might do something crazy too. But when I ask, he won't say anything." Aunt Anna sighed as well. "You've really had it rough. Let's take Luke to the city hospital tomorrow." I stood there, lost in confusion. Could my dad and I really be sick? When I left the shrine, my mind was in pieces. I stared at my mom's back, unsure of anything. Was what I'd seen real or not? She had worked so hard to raise me, none of that seemed fake. The villagers treated me well. The men seemed completely normal. If the women were truly monsters, wouldn't they have tried to escape? Doubt crept in again. That night, Mom made dinner and told me to take it to Dad. He looked even worse than before. The dark circles under his eyes made him look like he was on death's door. When he saw me, he coughed. "Luke, are you ready?" I stammered. His expression darkened. "She got to you again, didn't she? Told you I'm crazy? That you're sick too? That's why you're seeing women as monsters, food as bugs. She's lying to you. That's what they do best." My dad was getting agitated, but I checked the shrine. There was nothing strange. No men locked inside. He glared at me with deep disappointment. Every time a man's coming-of-age ceremony is near, they slaughter the livestock kept in the shrine ahead of time. The only reason she dared take you there is because those men had already been killed. My dad trembled as he grabbed my hand. The skin on his arm rippled violently inside. The eggs were squirming like crazy. My dad let out a painful moan, tears streaming from his cloudy eyes. "Please, son, believe me this once. Believe your own eyes." My lips trembled. Finally, I gave a heavy nod. At 1 in the morning, I carried a bucket of diesel into my mom's room. Her eyes were shut tight, breathing calm, clearly asleep. My heart hardened as I poured the diesel around her bed, but holding the lit match, I couldn't drop it. What if I really was sick? This was my mom. I was about to burn her alive. My face twitched uncontrollably, my hands shaking, but I thought of my dad's agony and let the match fall. The fire flared up instantly, engulfing her bed in flames. My mom jolted awake, staring at me in disbelief, her face twisted with despair and sorrow. The fire spread quickly, licking up her body. She screamed in pain but never blamed me. "Luke, take care of yourself after I'm gone. Run! Get out of here! The fire's too big, it'll kill you too." I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I watched her writhe in agony and couldn't bear it. I grabbed a water bucket and doused the flames. Her body was half burned. Barely alive, she looked up at me without a trace of anger, only reached out with a trembling hand to touch my face. That moment broke me. I burst into tears. The noise from the fire drew a crowd. The villagers rushed my mom to the hospital. I sat in the ambulance, helpless, staring at my unconscious mother. Aunt Anna, eyes red, said, "Your mom owed you and your dad this whole life. I told her to abort you back then, but she didn't listen. Even if you are sick, have you really forgotten everything your mom's done for you?" Aunt Anna's voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Aunt Anna," I said through clenched eyes and pain. "Don't say sorry to me, save it for her when she wakes up." My mom was wheeled into the OR. I sat on a cold hallway bench, heart clenched in knots, praying she'd survive. I didn't know how long I waited. She still hadn't come out. Exhausted and dazed, I drifted off. But soon, whispering voices woke me up. At some point, Aunt Anna had vanished from the seat next to me. The fluorescent lights in the corridor flickered and buzzed. The hospital was deathly silent, no more chatter from other patients. Only the light above the OR was still on. I walked toward the OR. For some reason, the door was slightly ajar. Nervously, I peeked through the gap. I saw Aunt Anna inside, along with several people in white coats, doctors, but none of them wore masks. Nor were they dressed in surgical gowns. My mom lay on the table, letting them slice off her charred flesh. Her eyes were wide open, she was fully conscious, yet she didn't seem to feel any pain. New flesh was growing rapidly from the wounds. Aunt Anna chuckled coldly. "Luke's coming of age is just around the corner. The nutrients from his dad's body have mostly been absorbed by our children. You really almost got yourself burned to death." I froze in place, chilled to the bone. My mom let out a shrill laugh. If I hadn't pulled that self-sacrifice stunt, the boy would have tried to escape before the ceremony. Her mouth split all the way to her ears. From within, several flesh-red tendrils slithered out, glistening with slime and dotted with bulbous nodules. Then the doctors opened their mouths, more tendrils emerged. "What if Luke isn't fit for breeding?" Aunt Anna asked. My mom smiled darkly. "After raising him all these years, we might as well find out what he tastes like." Reason told me to run, but my legs felt like lead. I was soaked in cold sweat. They'd tricked me again. They really were monsters. Even the doctors were monsters. I bit down hard on my tongue. The pain helped clear my head. I turned to flee, only to see Jessica step out of the elevator. "Luke, where are you going?" she asked, grinning wide. I recoiled in fear. The OR doors swung open. Everyone inside looked straight at me, wearing the same grotesque smile. "Where are you off to, Luke?" I screamed and shoved past Jessica, running for my life. But a sharp sting hit my neck, and several white coats pinned me down. "Luke's having an episode. He's been sedated," one of them said. My vision blurred, and consciousness slipped away. Through the haze, I saw my mom still lying on the ore table, hooked up to tubes. Her burned skin hadn't healed at all. Jessica knelt beside me, crying. "Luke, you're just like Uncle. You're having an attack." Aunt Anna stood beside her, sighing heavily, begging the doctors to cure me. At that moment, I couldn't tell if I was mad, or if these monsters were putting on another act. Then everything went black. Epilogue 8 years later. I now lie on the same bed my dad once occupied, waiting for the women of the village to come. But instead, my son walks in. To be honest, I'm not even sure he's really my son. The boy carefully carries a tray of food. "Dad, Mom says it's time to eat." But when I see the food, I lose it. "I'm not eating that, it's all bugs," I scream. The boy stares at me, confused. "Dad, are you having another episode?" I fall silent, staring at the writhing insects in the food on the floor. I feel them inside me too. They feed on my blood, my nutrients until they burst from my skin. When I refuse to eat, the boy yells for his mom. Jessica walks in, eyes red, and sits beside me like she's comforting a child. "Don't worry, Luke. I'll raise our son well. We'll cure your illness." My thoughts blur again. This is my wife, Jessica. She feeds me spoonful by spoonful. I regain a flicker of reason, a moment of calm. I feel sorry for her. Even though I have this illness, she married me and takes care of me without complaint. Jessica, sometimes I have these terrible dreams. I can't tell what's real. I keep seeing these awful tendrils coming out of your mouths and sliding down mine. I trailed off. She didn't respond. I turned my head. She was staring at me, giggling. "Luke, are these the kind of tendrils you're talking about?" she said. And as I stared in horror, countless flesh-red tendrils slithered out of her mouth.